You want to hear about my private cloud?
Yes, it says a hang over your head and goes.
It rains
But is
on
it?
me all day. No, I finally got Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate was finally on sale on Steam, and so it was on for 50% off, and it's like $100 game. So I was like, oh hell no, I need this. Cool, thanks. So I picked it up as like my own Christmas gift for myself, and the main character's name is Cloud, and I'm like, this is my personal Cloud. I'm gonna run around and hang out with my girlfriend in the slums. And I had the best day ever running around with my hot girlfriend. It was a good time.
Ah,
If you don't know the hot
excellent.
girlfriend, her name is Tifa. She is best girl. We take no others. There is no replacements. There is only Tifa. Anybody who says otherwise is a dirty liar.
And of
Anyway, I
course,
was nerding out. I was sitting in my room by myself, like Puck wasn't even in here, and I was playing this game on my computer, and I was just like, well, I gotta go to my girlfriend's house. And I'm watching Cloud be the most adorable little bastard you've ever seen in your life, because he like gets so shy all the time, and I'm like, don't be shy about your girlfriend, tell her how you feel. But he can't. He can't do it. He can't do it because he's a hurt little baby boy and he has brain problems. So I've been really enjoying that. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Okay, I made it.
I
I made it. I made it. I made it.
Yay.
I presume,
finally
yeah,
playing
and
it.
of course, I presume you had a wonderful 50 hours of partying there, Maanyaa, for your trip around the sun.
What?
Oh, we're starting, I guess.
Oh yes. I had fun.
Yeah. Hi everybody. Welcome back
Hello.
to Debate Hub. I was like, what show is this? This is our Volcano one. Welcome to the Volcano one. Yes, I finally got Final Fantasy VII and I'm playing it and I'm not sharing because I debated on streaming it and stuff and I'm like, no, this is for me. This is mine. I will talk to you about it, but this is a me experience. Maanyaa had her birthday yesterday, and Landon is back with us. He was off tromping around, getting into trouble, presumably.
Hmm. Allegedly.
Allegedly,
Allegedly. Oh, yeah.
not getting into trouble. Me and Maanyaa got into trouble yesterday, as we do.
Oh yeah.
As you
Did
know.
we get in trouble or did we make someone we got someone else in trouble?
Oh, we are the trouble.
Well, but
Yeah.
your DFF was calendar appropriate for places like New Zealand.
Yes. It was Thursday for me, but Friday for Maanyaa, because every Dumbfect Friday is actually Saturday for Maanyaa if they're on Friday for me.
Because Maanya's in the future.
It basically
she's
means that
advanced.
we have 3 days of options that we can do Dumbfect Friday on. We can do it on Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, and it's all still viable.
Not
During
when
the
when I go
so-called
back to work.
Yeah.
during the so-called Y2K crisis. You remember that way back when?
Yeah.
We're having live conversations with people in Australia and New Zealand, with the hope that the phone call across the millennium would do interesting to our bill, but it didn't, because Y2K was not very interesting.
Yeah, they made the news made a huge deal about it, and then the new year happened, and then everybody went back to work like
Everybody
normal.
was
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
It
don't
was
know.
like, yeah, okay, yeah, whatever. Okay, cool.
I didn't understand it at the time.
Yeah.
I don't understand it now. I know what people were freaked out about.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
otherwise, I hope people are doing reasonably well, and
Yeah.
hello in the chat. There's a bunch of people showing up here to see what happened in the land of volcanoes and so forth. But do we have uh, re- a rendering of what we had predicted before we see what's
Yes.
happening?
Ooh.
Yes.
Just one note
What?
before we start, real quick. The Gob Squad thing is not rolling right now because I think there was an update and it broke, and I haven't fixed it yet. So I'm gonna fix it for the New Year. So that scroll will be going in like next time. And Sarah's calling me out in the chat for playing Final Fantasy. They said I noticed you were playing Final Fantasy VII, and I commented on it, and you didn't even notice I said anything because he sent me a message.
Aww.
You were not the only person who's. I got a message from my mom and my sister, and I noticed nobody. I was busy hanging out and dating my girlfriend. Leave me alone.
I even sent Dash a holiday
Adorable.
message, and she didn't even notice that she didn't notice my message. So that's how far I went.
Okay, yeah, I got
But
the
I hope you had a happy holiday.
Everybody's.
Oh, she did. She did. She made lots of garlic butter.
I made a lot of garlic butter.
I went to Canada for Boxing Day since they don't celebrate Boxing Day here in the United States.
Oh, really? Is that not a thing?
Yeah, we rebelled from the British Empire before Boxing Day became a thing, which I believe, if I'm correct, historically was a Queen Victoria era thing, and we were already separated.
Do you guys do like sales at stores or anything? Because that's like a big thing up here. Is they'll do like a big Boxing Day sale.
Nah.
It's like we don't really have a Black Friday, but we kind of have a Black Friday because America has a Black Friday.
Well,
yeah, we do have like Black Friday sales, but it's not like people aren't like killing each other for stuff.
Yeah, it's not the same kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta have enough guns, enough alcohol, and enough stupid to
Don't
be
forget
able
the bullets.
Yes.
Stupid.
But
like
no,
that.
but seriously, I'm told by some people in retail that the day after Christmas is a high staff thing where people are bringing in returns or guess they don't want or exchanging stuff or or so forth.
Yeah, it's a big hullabaloo. I remember I went in when I was working at EB Games back in the day before it was GameStop. I went in to work, but I wasn't to work. Like, it wasn't my job that day. I wasn't there for Boxing Day. But I showed up because I lived down the road. So I walked over just to see how they were doing and check in on them. And they had, like, lines out the door. And so I just started helping people that looked like they were confused. So, like, I just did floor help. I was like, are you okay? Can I help you? What are you doing? You look lost. And it was usually just parents who didn't understand the games that their kids were looking for. So I just spent a lot of time talking to confused mothers and grandmothers for the most part.
Oh,
yeah. I just did it for free because I had nothing better.
Oh my god,
this tells you about a little bit about my life when I was younger. I was bored, had nothing better to do, so I volunteered for free at my job on Boxing Day.
Oh,
that's just how much customer service Chess is oriented.
I'm just a nice guy, man.
Yeah, you are. Once people get to know you. But also from a holiday perspective, I know somebody who was given a certificate for a game for a Commodore PET.
Oh yeah.
And the spouse of the person thought that was a mistake from grandma and tried to return it, but fortunately the person who received the gift said, no, they're actually a vintage computer person, and this was a sort of a here is a game for a Commodore PET that you could have for free, and they managed to risk it because they make. I mean, they're involved in the gaming in the computer game industry. They're a creator, but they also have a lot of vintage stuff, and so they had a Commodore PET thing, which I forget what the game was, but it was one of those cute things with the little pixel graphics that look sort of like.
Nice. All right, Maanyaa, what were our predictions? Let's get into it. Sorry, I didn't mean to distract. Right. I've got Final Fantasy on the brain.
All right, so Landon said more of earthquakes, swarms starting and stopping in the southwest zone. And they will continue down, or they might stop and concentrate. And what? Sorry, hold on.
Go to the East Rift Zone.
Money's
and
trying
shift
to read
to the East Rift Zone. Yep.
Yeah. Or the killer top will erupt. Yeah, something like that. Sorry, my ink gave up.
I think I was saying that it was unlikely for the killer to erupt at the summit.
Yeah.
But,
Don't
yeah, down one side or
fight
the
me in the chat about Final Fantasy VII. Do not start this.
Oh God, no, guys, don't do that. This is the Volcano show, all right? This is not Final Fantasy VII like dueling going on. All right. Stay focused. Focus.
She's talking to me, because I'll do it. I'll go off the handle.
So, okay, I think so. I wrote your predictions again because my pen had given up. The gas in the summit will continue to go lower, around 100 tons a day, and in November and December, DI events will come and go at the summit, but eventually southwest eruption, a major eruption, but no lava. I don't know what that meant, but I need to do it more properly.
I think no lava at the summit, probably.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so got it. Chesh was seeing more activity, inching closer to eruption. No follow-up eruption, like a firecracker. So I said more swarm of earthquakes up to the other volcano. DI events will continue while southwest settles and no eruptions, no lava. April said, still a lot of gas, but not much. Patty Pack, I think so. Swarm of deep earthquakes deep below towards the Mauna Loa. R3, D3, Y3. Big lava flow along southwest before Christmas Day. Yeah. And so what else? Southwest, no pit for gas to set. Oh, that's just yeah. So those are the predictions. I need to do that. Describe them better, man.
We're pretty haphazard in our predictions as well. So there's also that.
Yeah, but we predict in part to show how unpredictable Pele is. On the other hand, we also have, our predictions are sort of a bit more educated, and if you've been following along, you've been learning about the ebb and flows and rhythms of the mountain, so that your predictions may not be completely off the mark, just slightly off the mark.
Yeah, they're not like based on nothing anymore at this point. Like we've got some. I mean, mine are probably the most based on nothing. I have the least amount of thing to base my prediction on. But it's no longer nothing because we've been doing this for over a year now.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so let's see. Are we in? Where is the screen showing again?
Yes.
All right, there we go. So I must mention that in the news recently, we had some nice things going on with Iceland, right? And this was a initial fissure. In fact, this is sort of the thing what we're expecting if we get a southwest rift zone accumulator to do, which is the long streams of lava fountain curtains. This would be sort of what we'd expect if we get a southwest rift eruption, where it kind of cracks along the spine and lots of lava pours out.
Why does it look like Mexico in a Hollywood movie?
Oh God.
Because, but yeah, long fountain curtains are there, and when volcanoes do this sort of thing, the whole crack shows up there. And then as the crack kind of moves on, some of the smaller cracks stop, and some of the bigger fountains along the crack spine turn into eruptive vents, right? So you get a long curtain sheets that we saw before, and then it sort of evolves into this sort of thing where a couple of principal spots open up wider and they no longer need pressure along the entire you no longer have the significant pressure on the entire rift to have continuous flow. You end up starting with buildup of stuff, and it gets nice. You get nice as pretty. It turns these long rifts that now concentrate in a couple of points turn into actual vents and eventually mounds. Here's a live view of the current eruption in Iceland. This stuff that's way off to the side over here, these are cities. So this is not lava. This is cities, and you can see like there's a airport there with the blinking flashes of stuff and other
city
sort of
lights. Oh, okay.
comes going. This is what that fountain turned into. There's one sort of main vent. The long ridge is concentrated on the spot, and it's sort of dribbling out there. Not very eruptive. This is, if you look at the time over here, it's at 21 Iceland time. So it is, or down here at 21 Iceland time. So but that's what the current Icelandic volcano is doing. We also have to have some volcano porn, and here's our lava porn for it. It had some nice views. But as you may recall, volcanoes are a very common thing on planet Earth. And right now, at least this is a database of December 15th, there were 47 erupting volcanoes.
Oh wow.
In terms of 2023, we've had 69 volcanoes erupted. A little bit down from 2022, which was 80. So volcanoes are, it's like saying it's raining someplace. There's a volcano, there's multiple volcanoes. 47 is a little bit low for there. I mean, usually we see numbers closer to 50s to mid 50s, but hey, that's volcanoes come and go. As far as where, if you look at things here, here's a map showing you some of the principal places where red is major eruptions, and those minor eruptions there. Kilauea is not one of those at the moment because Kilauea is not erupting. But there's some things like the Italian one, Stromboli, is almost always erupting. Etna frequently erupts, but not at this time. The Icelandic one is down to kind of minor stuff. There's a couple of minor ones in Alaska. Central America has some out here in the islands. This rift zone in Africa is there. This particular one, there's a really nice rift valley in the northern part of Ethiopia. Unfortunately, they're having violence issues there, and it's an area that's unfortunately kind of off. It'd be really nice because they've got some really fantastic volcanic stuff. They just can't keep it going. Of course, Mount Erebus down here. See that there's the continuously erupting volcano in Antarctica. A couple in Kamchatka. There's one in Japan. Of course, Indonesia usually has the lion's share of volcanoes since it's a very islandy, volcano-y place. Here showing you, the Sandwich Islands. South Sandwich Islands has some spectacular ones going on. Big earthquakes over here. There was a earthquake at magnitude 4.4 in Hawaii, and we'll look at that in just a moment. But again, you can see South America stuff, Africa, Indonesia, Pacific Islands, and various stuff in the Kamchatka Peninsula and Japan. So that's sort of the current set of things going forward with big earthquakes and whatnot. So let's dive into what is Madam Pele up to. Well, this is as of this morning on Friday, and we see the summit eruption rate is at 80 tons per day on yesterday, right?
Most
80 tons, 80.
Information you can get here on Volcano. once a
Yes.
month.
So 80. That's down from 100. But again, that's almost to the point
Yeah.
where what is this 80 tons per day? Well, it's the previous lava lake that's still outgassing and cooling and some stuff up. Right? It's sort of the it's the pie you could put on the shelf and it's still outgassing, making pie smells. In this case, it's sulfur dioxide stinky smells. But that's not much. That's just not much. I mean, that's a. I mean, you probably get similar levels of this stuff in a volcanic hot springs area. So not much. It's and the 80 tons per day is kind of hard to measure. Earthquake wise, we've had some big earthquakes. Like we had a 4.4 magnitude event that occurred yesterday. We
yesterday.
had some 8th rift zone. Only about three quakes were recorded in east-west zone, but 28 quakes were recorded yesterday in the southwest rift zone. So quakes on both sides. You're saying?
It's like a competition going on.
Yeah.
Who's gonna show most seismic activity?
But the current eruption is Summit is not erupting and had 28 earthquakes less than magnitude 2.4 in the last 24 hours. So let's look at that. We look at tilt meters. Hey, tilt meters. You'll see the tilt meters.
Meters a little bit. Yeah, zoom.
Okay, let's zoom in. Zoomy. Whoops. Did I go too far? Yes, I probably went too far.
Nope,
there it is.
Perfect.
Okay. Here's the last day. And whenever you see one of these blips, this is an earthquake, a significant earthquake that sort of rattles the island, rattles the tilt meter. What is a tilt meter? It's liquid on a bar that it measures the flow one direction or the other. It's to see how it's tilting. Remember, 1 microradian from here to here. This is a 1 kilometer bar where one end raises up 1 millimeter. So for those that are metrically challenged, something like a 0.6 mile bar being lifted up by a thickness of an American dime. Because the American currency is one of those few currencies that doesn't have a number on it. They just say dime and quarter and nickel, and you have to just know that. But that I digress. Yeah. So we have this is a classic deflation, inflection, inflation, right? In fact, if you look over the week, here's a nice DI event, little one. Here's actually a really classic one. This is the classic set of stuff. So
this is what you see in the textbook.
Yes. And so a little earthquake there, so forth. So we had a couple of classic ones. Going back over the month, we had a big earthquake over here, boing, and DI, and then periods of not, and then another DI, and a DI, and periods of not, and now here's a DI, right? Again,
still on that upward slope.
Yeah. And in particular, again, the DI, it starts downward deaccelerating, bottoms out, and flips and becomes upward accelerating, topping off, right? Bottom down, topping off, bottom down, topping off. This is sort of this little, cursive V type of shape. So we saw over the last month some DI events and some periods where it was not, right? It's kind of off and on. Why does a DI occur? Well, the typical model, for example, with this part here, is that you've had dissolved gases boiling at the top of the magma chamber, and that gases has leaked out or gone back to solution. And so the magma at the top of the magma chamber gets sort of stale and sinks down. And so this is the sinking down as the magma there. But then the magma chamber turns over. There's a rolling over. Why? Because there's fresh energy and material coming up from below. And at some point when it goes bloop and turns over, the new material, hotter material with gases comes to the top and it begins to expand again. So deflation, inflation. Now let's look at this is across the summit. And here we see that the last month of stuff, we've actually had an uptick. Last time we saw this sort of kind of up and down to there, it's a little bit of an uptick. Remember, this change occurred when the eruption started and stopped. Another eruption start and stop period. So these big jumps are the final part of the magma reaching towards the surface, breaking open, expanding the surface as it pushes to erupt on the summit, and that outpouring of gases. Remember, we saw things on like 100,000 tons per day, causes the top to deflate. So these sort of spikes are common post indicator that you've had an eruption. But leading up to it, you get the thing where the summit is stretching. And what this is 1 meter of distance across several kilometers of the Corals caldera. So the mountain, the top is definitely stretching, and definitely is up there. In the longer 5-year trend, it still is this upward trend that's going up a little bit faster. Where we had here was an eruption, here's an eruption.
I cannot
so
believe chat right now. How immature are all of you to be looking at POO as a measurement and a point on the graph and thinking of poo and butts? What's wrong with you guys? Did you not hear about the outgas? Were you not listening when Landon was talking about the outgassing? Come on, people.
Yes.
Farts, everyone, farts.
And it's not po, it's poo.
Okay.
Poo. That's the event that's over. If here's a summit over here with Holy Mau, Poo is along the East Rift Zone. It was a famous event that for about 35 years had lots of lava come out on the side. All right, so we see we've had DI events off and on periods of time where it is, but not significant. But if it was doing this more of the time, I'd say it was significant, but it's not consistent. Gas wise, 80 tons per day. It's essentially low on the outgassing phase. Now, if you recall, when it last erupted, we had a bunch of stuff. Here is if you zoom in a bit more. We had these eruptive events that had it pour over into the Halimau lava lake. This previous spot here was the previous event that came from here that poured in this way. So we had that. Remember, we had that one camera that was lucky that basically in that island.
That little boy that survived. The little engine that could.
Yeah. But that was the summit is not erupting, but if we look at what's happening here with there, you see in this spot way down over here that the summit region is just this box. We have the southwest rift zone and the east rift zone, where the east rift zone points is about where Pu'o vent was that flowed in. This was the area where at the end of the eruption it wiped out a bunch of homes. This is the spot that so what actually happened? Well, if we look at the December quake thing, we have this. This is between November 11th and December 11th was a show. Here's the Holy Mau Summit where that lava lake was. And here are all those quakes. And then we saw this bit. We saw the East Rift Zone, and quakes went down that direction.
Things shot out the side. Hell yeah.
And then it stopped and restarted down here. So we saw the movement down this way. Remember, we thought that the normally Halimau Lake would have been covered over, it would have been a magma chamber underneath, but now it's kind of a plug, and the magma is having a difficult time going up through the middle of it, so it's moving to the southwest and to the east rift. Now it went down that way, but then stopped. Right? It didn't go very far. Now, if you look at these color bands, see these sort of nice pastel color bands. This is when you go through one color cycle is a 1.5 centimeter uptick. The last time we saw it, we had increases in this area, but now we see there's increases here and increases down here, right? There's a whole bunch of bulging going on in this region that is suggestive that these quakes are because magma is pushing its way underground. It hasn't reached the surface because we're not seeing gas come out. And of course, it hasn't reached the surface because we're not seeing lava. But we've had some big, there's some big quakes. There's a big quake down here, big quake down here. So it's had some quakes, but also the quakes have been in the magnitude 2 or 3 or less. If you like to say, well, what's happening? This was this period in sort of the middle of last month. What about now? Well, here's Mauna Loa. Here's a summit of Kilauea up here. This was this magnitude 4.4 quake that occurred yesterday. And we remember we've seen clusters of quakes down in this area, and these quakes are deep, right? Tend to be deep. That's presumably where the coming up from the mantle deep in the earth rises, and it sends material up to Kilauea, up to Mauna Loa, and up to the seamount down here. But now we're seeing that these quakes are not going down the rift zone this way, but they're going back down the southwest zone. In fact, if you look at more and more detail, we see that the quakes that we see, while small, and let's look at just the ones that are small, magnitude 1, magnitude 2 type quakes, are occurring again down the southwest rift zone. We're not seeing the east-west quakes going at this stage. So what occurred over here with this east rift connector was a period of time and it seemed to stop. And now it seems to be heading back down. The earthquakes are heading down the west rift zone, down this. The quakes are occurring in this part of the connector right there. Heading there and there. So it's sort of switched its direction yet again. Camera-wise, I mean, there are pictures of cameras. Here's, for example, looking down the southwest rift zone.
Can you zoom that in for us a little bit? Hey, there it is.
All right. And look in here, we see this is what the southwest rift zone looks like. This pipe here, by the way, this is cabling to an instrument, which is why that stuff is on the ground. But this is looking down that southwest zone. So it is an area, if we go back to the map, it's actually off that direction. So I think it's probably, it's in this area. We've set up a camera in this area just in case it erupts. Let's go back to the spot. This might be one of the places that it might erupt. But Madam Pele might have her own ideas. This Mauna Loa, the big long mountain back then.
What's the elevation on where we're looking right now?
Elevation's around 1,500 meters, around 4,000 feet.
Because this looks like a desert suddenly, and so I thought it'd be interesting to just put into perspective. This is actually up the mountain.
Yes, and
incline.
Go ahead.
The incline, the angle is so little. So
the Earth is flat, everybody. Confirmed.
Flat.
these mountains, shield volcanoes have very running lava, and so they tend to spread out quite far. This from here to here on the long mountain, this is probably about 120 kilometer span you're looking about there, right? And
that's a very good question.
You're not even seeing the edges of the island, right? This is just sort of the center part of the island. But you said in desert, right? This area here has had scores and scores and scores of acid rain dumped on it.
That would make sense. Yeah. Alex in the chat says, "Why does volcanic soil always look like delicious chocolate brownies?" Part of it is the acidity.
Yes. So here's just showing you the gas area here, and we can see that when the summit was erupting all those years, the trade winds were blowing off in the direction of southwest, and so most of this region over here of the island has had acid basically dumped on it, um, and so it tends to be the drier part of the island. So when you look at some place like, if we go back to, let's go back to the island over here. Up here in Hilo is some of the wettest places on Earth. Where in this area here, you'll get, you can get monsoon-like rains where half meter to a meter of rain can dump in a short period of time. So some of the spots in the world are here, and some of the dry spots are over here. In part, this giant volcano tends to shield this area. So the storms that come in stop, rain on the side of the volcano and flood this way, and are dry on this spot. So you were correct in showing that this is relatively dry. Now, it's not quite a desert because you can see there's plants here. This is material that probably erupted in 1974 and 1971. And so it does have actually some mature trees. Birds drop things in their poop that a seed that's in a spot that has all this rich nutrients that are basically breaking down the soil, creates a little bit of yummy stuff for plants, and you get plants that grow. So this is what the volcano looks. Okay.
Mr. Garrick is asking what makes it acidic.
Well, good question. Mirror that sulfur dioxide we're talking about. And when sulfur dioxide mixed with water, you get sulfuric acid, H2SO4, and you also can get some hydrofluoric acid, which is even worse. I do not recommend.
0 out of 10
breathing.
Would not sniff again.
Yes, and so you get stuff, but recognize that acid in part begins to break down the top of the rock, which is rich in nutrients, and some of the first lichens and so forth start off in this warm, rich, nutrient rock that begins to break down the soil, and then seeds come in, and then plants come in, and roots start breaking forward. So this is 50 years after the eruption, what it looks like. Give it another 50 years, and there will be shrubs and mature trees and so forth. You can tell there was an eruption, but it will be much less. 250 years, again, if nothing else happened, it would turn into a nice lush forest. Yeah. But chances are something will happen.
Mr. Garrick is asking a follow-up question. In totality, where does it come from? Are you asking what is the source for the acid, or what is the source for the sulfur dioxide that converts to acid? If you're asking for the source of sulfur dioxide that converts to acid when it mixes with or reacts with rainwater, it comes from the volcano itself. There are fissures along the rips and around the volcano, and even in at the summit, from where the sulfur dioxide seeps through or leaks through when it's pressurized towards the surface.
Yes.
So that's the SO2 coming up. So if a wind is coming and it's bringing clouds and there's sulfur dioxide going up, they will interact, and the wind will continue to blow them away in the direction where it's going. And then when a waterfall happens, we'll have hydrogen sulfate or sulfite. Yeah. So that's what,
It basically, because not everything breaks down at the same rate before the volcano is releasing everything, the pressure, the heat, the mix of the entire process of what's happening deeper underground basically starts to separate all the pieces. Mm-hmm. So if you take a rock, it's basically like, we're going to take this rock and we're going to take everything that's underground and we're going to start separating it because it all reacts under different pressures at a different rate. So it starts separating out into basically what we, for colloquially, for the sake of this conversation, call base forms. And so you get your gases separate out, your liquids separate out, but then nothing can maintain being a liquid for only certain amounts of time. So certain things will become gases at different rates, and so all of the different pieces that make up like the liquid all separate into their gases at different rates, and so when it becomes gas, it becomes easier for it to move around under a pressurized system, and it'll start outgassing, and that was the outgassing we were talking about. That outgassing starts to mix with the atmosphere above the, so it's now remixing when it was all separated, and when it remixes, it will create different agents, two of which I think we discussed are acidic in nature.
Yeah. Yep.
And
well said. Well said.
Thanks.
I'm
a
showing
helper.
here yes, and you know your geochemistry stuff. So we're looking on the Big Island of Hawaii.
Somebody
Here
said witchcraft.
is-
Got it. Yeah, pretty much. It is basically it is Pele's witchcraft. It is the witchcraft of that volcano. That is the Mother Gaia
Madam
witchcraft. That is not wrong.
yeah.
I like that answer.
So here's the Big Island of Hawaii. Kilauea is here. Mauna Loa, Mauna Kea, and there's also the volcano here. But if you look at the spot of this island, we see a wet side of the island because the winds tend to come this way. So the storms here. So this is a very, very wet area, and these volcanoes create a sort of a desert, and you get the dry side here. So even say when you look into Google Earth, which we're zooming in on here, and this was a spot. This is actually was a spot at a time these satellites when both volcanoes were erupting. And notice in Kilauea, you see here, see the gas coming out. See that little plume? All right. Look at that. Look at the result of zooming in more here of the volcano. So here's Pu'o'o and the gas. Here's Hurley Mountain and the gas, and you see the gas moves this direction. This is part of that.
You can see it like there's nothing. You can see the greenery around it, and then how it just kind of like almost hard line cuts off. Just to be clear, not everything that is going to come out of the volcano and mix with the atmosphere is going to become acidic. There are multiple options.
Yes.
That's just the ones we were talking about right now.
Yeah.
But we see a combination of being on the far side of the mountains and the acid. In the case of Mauna Loa, right? This is sort of the dry side of the island because Mauna Loa tends to block a lot of the common winds. The winds and the storms tend to come from the direction of the northeast, heading toward the southwest. So indeed, you'll see the case where here now this area here, you see this part. The reason why this doesn't have as much vegetation is that this is where Pu'o'o in the 35.5-year eruption, this spot and this spot occurred. So we had a lot of vegetation that was destroyed, but this is a fairly wet area and being reclaimed quite fast. Here are two other spots where the volcano came out. So you'll see these spots that are in the middle of what is otherwise very lush material. And again, very papaya plants, a lot of macadamia nut farms. And there are other farms too where people grow medicinal snacky cakes, let's say that way, that occur.
The brownies with plants in them.
Oh, okay. The nutritious brownies. I got it.
Now, this area here is a different thing because there's a different weather pattern coming up here. These are winds that come off the ocean, and towards the afternoon, as the air cools down, this air up the slope of Mauna Loa contracts and pulls moist air in, and so the rain starts here. And this is an area where around in the mid-afternoon, you can almost set your watch to it. you'll get rain that goes up the slope and then stops. There's a kind of limit on how far up the slope it'll go, because it's right now at the top of Mauna Loa. There's actually is ice, so it goes up quite significantly. This is around 4,300 meters, around 13,700 feet. So this is a long distance, but it's a gradual slope. So you have this combination of desert stuff, trade winds, shields.
All brownies have plants in them. Listen, I know. Don't. You're gonna
that's a common fact.
out-pedantic me about the recipe for brownies.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's flour and chocolate in most. There's usually chocolate in brownies. I don't know if there is
and the green
brownie
stuff.
that doesn't have.
Yeah. We know.
I think maybe chocolate counts as a plant, right?
Well, it's a plant-based confection.
A legume. I don't know.
So had you seen this area around 1980, you would not have seen any very much significant plants here. This is the very beginnings of the reclaiming of the area. Again, we haven't had eruptions here for over 50 years, but also it has all this acid dumped in it, so it's been a little bit slower in the recovery. But the reason why we don't think this will get into a full-fledged forest is it's very likely that we'll have eruptions in this area again, changing the landscape. Let's look at
how it like so much. So what took almost 40 years? 30 to 35 years for the magma that was on the surface, or the lava, to break down and to go from black or silver to brown.
Yeah.
After so many years of acidic rain and everything breaking it down, now we see some plants sprouting. So it's 30 to 35 years. Oh my, yeah. Okay, cool.
I'm just gonna answer.
That's actually relatively slow, because there are spots on the 1980 eruption that are now reasonably forested, but that's because they didn't have acid rain dumped on them, and they're on the wet side of the island.
That's fair. Real quick, just because Mr. Garrick asked a follow-up question about pressure, which I'm going to take as just a generic question about the way pressure functions. And so the best example I could think of while I was considering the question is a popcorn kernel. A popcorn kernel that you can get from just a piece of corn just sits around, but when you put it in a microwave, it starts making the molecules go fast. And when the molecules inside the popcorn start going fast, it starts creating friction. And so it gets hotter and hotter and hotter until the popcorn pops. Now what you'll notice will happen if you actually look at your popcorn when you pull it out, it is steaming. So the liquid that is inside the popcorn kernel is escaping, and it is outgassing. And so the liquid that was in the kernel, had you just consumed it as a kernel, has gotten to a certain temperature that it is separate and under pressure, because it is inside a kernel, is now separating out and outgassing out of the kernel as it does its thing. And so you get what happens is you get a change in what it was to processing to what it explodes into, and it separates out, and that's why it has a different flavor, why it has a different texture, why it's still popcorn. The kernel is still it's still all the same, it's all made up of the same stuff. It just changed because
does it have caramel?
You've applied heat and pressure to it. I mean, you can put caramel on top of it if you want. That's fine.
Yeah. So, basically, what Shes said it very nicely, that what happens is, and Landon explained, when air cools down, it contracts, so the pressure drops, and it pulls stuff in. When air is hot and warm, it expands, so everything just goes out. So that's what basically is.
Gravity can cause pressure, but the type of pressure we're talking about is more of a confined space where there's a lot of movement. So if you take a bunch of, llamas, and you put them into a barn, and they're all just kind of hanging out in there, but then you take a dog and you throw the dog in there and tell it to freak out the llamas will start, vibrating and moving around and bumping into each other and yada, 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 yada. And then when you open the doors, they'll all flood out of those doors. there's pressure building up, there's anxiety building up, there's stress building up. When you open the doors, all that stress gets released, and all the llamas go running around, and the dog goes running around, and everybody has a grand old time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think these are really good, good analogies there. Recognize as well, what you talk about, where does it come from in a volcano? Magma, liquid rock or rock sort of plasticity, underground is still rock, and from point of view of gravity, it wants to go towards the center of the earth. Why does it come up the top and out? Because in magma deep underground, it's under high pressure. Gases like sulfuric acid and water and carbon dioxide and so forth are under such high pressure that they're liquefied, just like a gas cylinder. You have a liquid natural gas cylinder that's under pressure, right? The material deep in the ground is not in vapor form. It's under such pressure that vapor is turned to liquid. But as the magma, right? Sorry.
The llamas get too hyper. You open up the doors, and the llamas vibrate so much that they float into the sky and become clouds, and that's where clouds come from.
Llama clouds.
Oh, that's adorable.
Yes, I guess these are the llamas up here, right? But as one of the things is that there are other the boiling point of various gases depends upon their composition. So there are materials in magma that boil at a much higher temperature and pressure, and when it boils, when it begins to come out of solution, it pushes up the magma, right? It's Spanish, popcorn kernelling. It's llama barn evacuating. And so that tends to give the magma the loft. And at some point, when it gets nearer the surface, you start to get gases that actually will escape to the top. So when we talk about the amount of gas coming out, we're really referring to is how much magma material is getting close to the surface that new materials begin to boil. So when they sample gas, like what we're seeing here, this is the Holy Mau crater, and when they sample gases, they're trying to determine. So here's outgassing. This is the 80 tons of the. They're also looking at other trace gases to try to determine what material, what kind of llamas are coming out of the magma. And so again, the magma would prefer, because it's rock, to go down, but the fizzing, the boiling, pushes it up and out, and that's where you get eruptions. So we often will try to determine if eruptions are going to be occurring by monitoring the gases coming out, the amount of gases, the type of gases, because that tells you where is it boiling, how deep is it, how close is the magma to it. Plus you get earthquakes and other things. So
this is why I get sent to the back of the classroom, by the way.
We're looking at the Halimau summit. It is the lava lake, which is now just crusted over. So presuming most of this gas is from older, recent eruption that's still sort of outgassing. This is that side vent that poured in area, but and you'll see a lot of residuals of this white material here is condensate from those gases that have been left behind as it outgasses. Again, this is a very small amount of gas coming out at the summit. Here is looking from the side, so a little less aggressive on there. This was that side vent, not the last eruption, but the eruption before last. It came on this side and flowed into the center. But it appears now that this is such a formidable barrier that instead of it being a liquid lake is now pretty congealed rock. And the magma, if we go back to the maps here, the magma came in this side or came in this side. It seems to be having a difficult time breaking through this, which appears to be Maanyaa plug. So what is it doing? The magma is moving down the spine this way and down the spine that way. And understand, well, why is magma pressing up the rock? Well, it's that boiling that's occurring, which cracks the rock. That's the popcorn going pop, right? But underground, it turns into an earthquake. So we see the gassing coming out here, gassing coming out here. Here's another view of the thing coming in their direction. This was the last eruption where we had the lava flowing from the side down this way. The previous eruption was over here. This again showing the again looking into the summit, and we see the last of the eruptions sort of outgassing and sort of the condensate of the outgassing that's occurring again in the summit area. We don't see any of that. We don't see gassing. We don't see gas eruptions occurring in this area here. This is fairly old, and while the magma's moving down here, while this has been pushed up as much as 10 centimeters over the last month and a half, it hasn't made enough of a crack for the gases to begin to escape. So we're not sensing volcanic gases coming here, and certainly the gas will come out before the magma reaches the surface and turn into an eruption. Where when it erupts, it'll be something probably in the order of something like this. This will be probably what happens when it begins to erupt. Like in Iceland, we have a long, long fissure with lots of fountains, really, really pretty. It'll quickly turn into just a couple of favored vents and then turn into probably one vent.
Obligatory reminder to never trust a fart.
Yes. This is the thermal camera showing you the Halimama Lake in
If you feel that rumbling, it's important to get to a safe place. And do not swim in lava.
Yeah, no.
This channel does not endorse lava swimming by people.
Yeah, no.
Or llamas.
Don't be going blaming us if you get into the lava lake to swim, okay? Yeah.
So temperature wise, the stuff gets to near boiling still, because this is a huge lava lake that's now congealed, and it takes a long time. The crust cools down and solidifies, but there's still liquid stuff underneath, and gases come out of that. So it is still reasonably warm from a thermal point of view. You have a walk at it.
Has a quick question about the tech. Sure. What's the upper limit of the thermal camera, and how precise is it?
So this thermal camera has quite a wide range. When it is under an active eruption, looking at lava, it'll be able to see things, in the 1200, 1500, Celsius area. Right now, I believe this range is probably from here that might be 20 Celsius to the hottest spot here, maybe around 60, 70 Celsius. So enough to be warm and toasty for the yellow parts, and reasonably tropical cool stuff over here that's in the shade. And so the dynamic range will change quite a bit.
Yeah. Follow-up question from Czar as a semi-serious question. Is there a living creature that could swim in lava and survive? On Earth?
So we do have sharks. We do have a species of sharks that do survive in the waters around the volcanoes, where the lava, leaks out into the ocean. So
around thermal vents, there are a lot of creatures that live in and around thermal vents in very high temperatures, but not lava.
And they're surrounded by water. They're in deep water, which is carrying away the heat very effectively. Yeah. And even though you have those under ocean thermal vents, they don't go right into the super boiling stuff. They go near it.
Yeah, so they'll you'll have lots of different creatures deep in the ocean that will live around these vents, and you'll get larger creatures like sharks and some fish that will swim in and around these what we would consider too hot to be swimming in waters. but it doesn't get quite so far as lava because there's just too many problems for carbon-based life forms in when it comes to lava.
Temperature, yeah.
And so I'm trying to get this page to reload, but it may not be wanting to reload. But I was going to give another thing. We're going to look for another thermal thing that has the temperature scale on the side.
Brian Stevens actually has a
you.
follow-up answer to that question. Is that a thermophile is an organism, a type of extremophile that thrives at relatively high temperatures between 41 and 122 degrees Celsius. Neat. There's lots of weird stuff out there. Now, could something survive in lava? I don't know, maybe if it had the right stuff.
So when you see something like this, right? This is superheated water. It's under high pressure. So this is things that are probably in the 200 Celsius or more.
Yep.
There's not going to be living things inside here, but living things hang around it. That's relatively warm, but not biologically hazardous.
It's warm and it's got all that good shit coming out.
Yes, there's lots of stuff. So if you look at some of the thermal events here, there's lots of critters. You get both bacteria creating colonies, and you also get critters, weird critters. Here's a couple of critters there that hang around it. They won't be inside the high temperature stuff. But they will be near it because it's not lots of nutrients, lots of sources. Again, volcanoes produce lots of nutrient stuff. If you look at the North Island of New Zealand, it is some of the richest farmland in the world because all those volcanoes said, "Hey, life, here's a bunch of stuff to chow on and grow."
Work with.
Yes, it puts out some acid stuff, but it also puts out lots of things that are very yummy for biological bits to do their thing.
Pokemon that have canonically been in lava include Slugma, Macargo, Groudon, Magmar, Charizard kind of for amounts of times, like survive and then come out.
You can't survive yet.
Interestingly enough, Arcanine and Growlithe in Pokemon Snap.
Growlithe?
Yep.
Growlithe. Oh my goodness.
Yep.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Camerupt is also a volcano. Torkoal as well, yes.
Yep.
Many fire Pokemon, but not all fire Pokemon, are very lava adjacent.
So I would think for one of the volcanologists that is lurking in the background sent me one of their images from, I guess, a book they're writing. And we see, here's magma, right down here. Liquid rock. That's 1200 Celsius. It is working its way up through. When the top of the magma, you get that boiling. This is where the DI events occur, and the gases come up. You get a reaction zone around 400. It hits but this is the case where you get seawater that's seeping down in, that heats up, and then brings to the surface material. So you got seawater that's reached down, just like if this one land. This would be a thermal hot springs. Geysers. This is the case of a under ocean geyser where the material comes up, and you'll have stuff coming out that maybe at 350 Celsius, whereas around the area might be up to 6 degrees Celsius. So biological critters are going to be around this region because it's a source of nutrients, and it has all kinds of interesting minerals and so forth. The plume will be a little bit warmer than normal. Under ocean stuff is relatively cold, like 2 Celsius.
Hey, Landon.
Plume creates things. Yes.
How do you feel about doing a quote-unquote special volcano show where we bring Dapper on as well and have a conversation about the evolution of life around volcanoes and around, like, both above ground and in the ocean?
That would be really good because we tend to on this show focus on what will the volcano do next, but having stuff about volcanoes and life that evolves and so forth, so these events would be
how
really
it.
quite a wonderful thing. It's a
Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll look
anyway.
at getting that done. I'll send a message to Dapper once.
Because I can,
once we
I
got
know
that.
that the people talk about that perhaps life on Earth began near some of these springs where you had lots of warm chemical soup stuff to do things. Life, if it got started, got a boost around these regions. And even though you might think of volcanoes as destructive, when you look at stuff like this, right, you're
Yeah.
thinking destruction. But if you look at a broader view of it, this is creating a very rich nutrient area that will turn into an amazing life forms, and plants will just explode in the happy times. Once the llamas get out of the barn, they return back to being happy llamas. So yes, it looks formidable, but in a couple of decades, this will turn into much richer than it would have been if they hadn't erupted. And again, volcanoes are very common. They have typically 40 to 60 volcanoes erupting at any one time on Earth, and a number of them are doing a bunch of wonderful stuff. And yeah, it might suck if you happen to be too close to a volcanic eruption, right? Don't swim in lava. This is not endorsed by this channel,
Yes.
but it certainly does a wonderful thing for life around the planet. And again, lots of volcanoes, lots of earthquakes. We're a very wiggly, wobbly planet, full of eruptions, full of quakes, and full of life.
So, we should probably make our predictions and start wrapping up.
Yep.
And by the way,
Good
chat,
idea.
you can make your predictions too.
Yes, let us know what your predictions are.
Yeah.
I think.
How about I make a suggestion about predictions?
That totally looked like you were picking your nose. Also, Landon, you need to get in frame a little bit.
Come on.
Oh,
You
He's like-
just did like this.
I know. Scratching my nose.
It's
just she was doing this, right? She was doing.
Okay, so I have a suggestion. If you're making a prediction for the next show, can you guys note it down? Because yeah, I don't want to like miss something that you have said. Or put it in the chat.
Leave it in the
so-
comment
short.
section. Leave it in the comment
Yeah, in
section
the comment
below.
section.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Put
great.
a comment
Comment section.
Yeah.
So
Okay, who wants to
So
start?
I will say, I will come out and predict more of the same. Low gas output at the summit. Periodic earthquakes down both rift zones. No lava on the surface. Is that?
Down both, is it? Did you say down
Yeah.
both the rift zones?
Yeah. Periodic earthquakes.
And low lava
I was
at
going to
the-
say no lava at the summit, and not erupting. Yeah, of course, not erupting at all. And I guess finally, periodic DI events followed by not so periodic stuff. So it'll kind of go again, like we saw before, more of the same. DI events that come and go, earthquake swarms that go down things that come and go. Not much gas coming out. Certainly no lava coming out for the next month or so.
I have a different prediction. I think we're going to see an uptick in rumbly bits. Earthquakes. There we go. We're going to see an uptick in earthquakes. You're going to see a couple that are a little bit deeper, and we're going to see an increase in gas flow. Increase in outgassing. Also, no lava, though. I don't think we're going to see a lava yet. Not this month.
No lava? Got it.
We're going to nuke Canada.
Got it.
Listen, it's already warm enough, man. It's been raining for days. Where's my goddamn snow? I hate global warming. My dog
get my
loves
snow.
snow.
Yeah,
No snow.
we are seeing that.
I need to
Snow
move to
for
Texas
So,
to get my fucking snow.
So
That's a different kind of snow.
So, Checha, I'm going to repeat it for you. Uptick in the earthquakes, couple that are deeper, increase in outgassing, no lava this month.
Yeah.
So the difference between my prediction and Chesh's prediction is that Chesh is thinking that we'll have a more energetic
The
earthquake
gas.
bits,
Yep.
and the gas will be revving up. Where I'm thinking
Yep.
it's going to be about the same. So
Yep.
Me? I'm always happy when Madam Pele dances, so I'm just saying, can't you just start dancing along the southwest rift and give us some
yeah,
spectacular lava flow, please? Thank you.
those long
I would like to point out for
chain of
anybody
fountains. Yeah.
for anybody curious, we started the show at 4 p.m. my time, and this is the light. This is my window's been open the whole time. So it's gotten a little bit darker, but that was like it's a gray, it's overcast, it's raining. I didn't turn on my big light. I've only got my little side lamp on. This is what it looks like right now in Canada. This is why people get like the blues of like the seasonal depression shit. Where's my goddamn snow?
And it is, but you know, your
getting angry.
latest, your earliest sunset isn't going to occur until about January 6th or so.
I was gonna say the 7th, but yeah,
and-
that sounds about right.
and
You're probably
around
more
that
accurate
time.
than I am.
So it is a yeah, maybe it's the 7th. It's a case, you know, I find that the opposite, which is just continuous daylight all the time, is not so fun. But you're right. I would prefer a little bit more snow. We are in an El Nino pattern, and for us in the Pacific Northwest, it means warmer than normal and a little bit drier than normal. But for a dry year, it's normal.
It's I live in an area that's got like nearby swamp and like it's humid here a lot of the time, so it's not unusual. Normally what you would expect to see, I'm saying normally very loosely, all this rain would be snow. And so now we're still getting all of the precipitation, but it's not cold enough. It's been +6. This is the worst.
Yes, we set the for this day of the year, we set the high temperature record for this day of the year.
Yep.
For our region.
Yep. Yep. All right.
But again, if you talk about, so you get to compare like saying for we're typical of an El Nino winter, but you know, warmer than stuff and no snow.
Okay, we are looking to wrap up. What's everybody got going on in the coming?
Well, any predictions for Maanyaa? Do you have any predictions?
Yeah, she predicted more. She wants Volcano. She wants dancing.
Well, that's right.
That year.
But I meant
Along the
in
Southwest
chat,
Summit, yeah.
Oh, chat.
Yeah.
Chat was saying. Let me look real quick. I did see chat.
April said that she agrees with Landon in the prediction, and I don't see anyone.
Brian said I predict Iceland will be interesting for a while.
Yes, it's a very volcanic place.
It's generic said it looks like Silent Hill where he lives. That's pretty funny. But yeah, not too many predictions this time.
Yeah, but if you do get you come up with any, put them in the comments.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
What's everybody got going on? We've got Dumb Fact Friday on Friday. We've got a. When's our next? Where's my phone? Oh, it's plugged in. Our next thing, tavern. I'm not okay.
Yeah, coming up.
I believe
what's coming up there.
The 13th is going to be our next micro brew, and the 27th will be our next proper tavern, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I believe that's the case. Tuesday
Yep,
we'll be back to
those are the dates.
our Tuesday we'll be live on Twitch. We'll be back to our regular scheduled programming there, which will be goofy stuff, but I'm also throwing in I'm gonna have a couple of like, I don't know, lectures, I guess, that I'm going to be presenting that are gonna have my normal let's use llamas as the example, because I'm gonna distract everybody about llamas instead of actually talking about the issue. We're going to be talking about fallacies, argumentation, standards, principles, kind of how to navigate those things and how to express those things in a way so you can communicate them when you run into them. Because I've noticed that, like with all the stuff we've kind of covered recently on the channel, there's like a whole lot of people all kind of feeling the same way and noticing the same thing, but not really knowing how to communicate what it is that they're seeing. And so I'm going to try to skip a lot of jargon, but I'm going to try to like lay out like, this is what a standard is, and here's how you establish what your standard might be, and those standards may or may not be variable depending on what you're watching. You don't expect a whole lot of like lying or deception around somebody who's just hanging out playing a video game and enjoying their experience and talking to you about it. But if you're going to talk about analytics and people analyzing a situation or reporting on a situation, now you've jumped what your expectations are. So we're gonna kind of start laying that out and navigating that and sort of helping people build a base, so that way they can pick. I'm not gonna tell you what your standard should be. I'm just going to explain to you how to build and exercise and practice whatever standard you decide you think, as well as help you recognize that somebody else's standard might be different, why, and how to navigate a conversation when you're coming from different angles like that. That's what I'm working on. It's going to be a project. If you're not following on Twitch, you're going to be able to see me doing this live. On YouTube, you'll get it in video format. Yeah.
Cool.
Yay.
What are you doing, Maanyaa?
Nothing much. Dreading to go back to work again. Yeah, that date is coming closer. But yeah, if you're wondering where the Dumb Fact Friday happened for today, it happened yesterday. So it's on there, so you can go and catch up with it if you would like to. And yeah,
Hey, New Zealand time.
I think so.
Yes.
Yay. So yeah, New Zealand Friday for the starters. And then yeah, I hang out in Cheshire's Discord. I'm just lazing around this whole like holiday season. I'm just like, I've taken leave and I'm just like, yeah, you want something? Okay, I'll be ready. I don't care about the timings till the 7th of January. So yeah, so you'll see me on Dumb Fact Friday and most probably on Unnamed Tavern also. So I'll see you guys around. And of course, raging on Twitter sometimes.
So sometimes. What are you up to, Landon? Landon's part of a super secret group of internet Navy SEALs that are currently trying to destroy Elon Musk.
No comment. So definitely. Well, I guess there's things that we have of course, Kendra monitors the Volcano and doing a lot of programming coding for various projects, including this National Obfuscated C Code contest. We are going to start to begin construction. So this area that I'm in is going to be all torn up and kerfuffled for months. So
Yay.
I have to get stuff from here to a different spot where it isn't going to be torn up. And we may have interesting difficulties of trying to hold a show while people are jackhammering and banging on walls and that sort of thing.
Hey,
we'll
listen,
see how
some
that
shows
goes.
are built around jackhammering. Don't worry about it.
For stuff. There is also, certainly the Unnamed Tavern, which is not a tavern, by the way. It's just it's important to note that. Unnamed Tavern is not a tavern. The week after our January Unnamed Tavern, which is not a tavern show on January 13th, on the 20th, going to be the first episode of the BE show, Before Earth show, and it's going to talk about 5 things going from the Big Bang process to a show dealing with the first trillionth of a second in the Big Bang process to several million years and blah blah blah.
Nice.
evolving of galaxies and clusters and planets and going up right to the point where you have an Earth-Moon system forming. So we're going to do that in 5 shows once a month. The first one is scheduled for January 20th. So I have to go and study up again on my Big Bang processes here. So catch that. And meanwhile, monitoring what Volcano's doing and trying to figure out how to put a telescope on near the south pole of the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
That will be
This is
brilliant.
going to be a fun year coming up. I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday. If you didn't have a wonderful holiday, I hope that the great reset of the rollover that is completely arbitrary and we made it the fuck up helps you feel better, and it makes your next set of time a lot better. Thank you everybody for joining us. This has been a lot of fun. And we will see you guys next time. Bye!
Bye.
Bye. Cheers.